Mike, do you make the magic $200,000 a year?
Well, technically on paper I do as a small business. My real income is significantly less than that.
Right.
So, my whole thing with this is we've got Bill Gates Sr. and his little cadre of limousine liberals who are out there running around saying, oh, what a great thing this would be, that we would make and his little buddies all pay extra money. What I want to know is if they think it's such a bloody good idea, why aren't they already paying it? There's no reason, no law precluding them from cutting a check to the Washington State Treasury right now with all that extra money they seem to have laying around to burn.
Is that true, Scott? You could you could add some extra money when it comes to your quarterly or however you file. You can throw extra dollars in, right?
Absolutely. He could sit down right now and write a check, I'm sure with his bank account, for $1 million and send it right straight to Queen Christine and get on TV to pitch his little thing. And, they're not going to turn the money away. And you know what? Mr. Gates Sr., I challenge you, show me the canceled checks. If you think it's such a good idea, put your money where your mouth is. And
then, okay, Mike, would you then follow suit? If he showed you that check, would you then write your check?
I don't have the money to give him. I am an owner-operator truck driver. We are barely surviving out here. My income is down 70% from where it was 2 years ago.
This is just the wrong time for this thing to
wrong time?
Come up.
Wrong time.
There's never a good time for an income
tax.
Wow. All right.
Well, something's got to give, but I just think their timing sucks.
State government spending.
Right. It's not a revenue problem. It's a spending problem. That's
a spending problem.
Right.
See, I guess you would know that as a small business owner. You look at your two valves. You got cash going out and cash coming in. You say, hey, we got less cash coming in. We need to spend less cash going out. We got to turn the one down and try to jack the other one up, right?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
I look at my valves. One is marked freight volume, and the other one is marked expenses.
Yeah.
The one marked expenses doesn't change.
Yeah.
When the marked freight volume has been getting turned down slowly and more as the last couple of years have gone by.
But we will stand by, Mike and Roswell. We'll stand by and we'll wait to see Bill Gates Sr. write that check and do a press conference saying, hey, I'm paying more than I need to just because I believe in the cause, and we'll see what happens. I want to go to Linda in Silverdale. She says legislator can change the law at will. Is that true, Scott? Can the legislator change the law whenever they want?
There are no constitutional protections in this law that would prohibit them after 2 years simply dropping the rates on everybody. They could hike the rate. So they could drop it from 200,000 to 100,000. They could drop it to 50,000. They could simply drop it to everyone. And we expect that they will do that because in 2002, Mr. Gates actually chaired a tax commission that advocated a broad-based income tax that would apply to everyone. And we think that's really what this is. This is the camel's nose under the tent. This is their way to get at a state income tax on all Washingtonians.
Linda in Silverdale, if I told you that we would write into this legislation that there's no way the thing can go down and there's no way it can capture anyone else other than the 200,000 and up, would you be okay with it? Is Linda there? I guess Linda's out trying to...
Linda might not be there, but one thing, let me mention...
Linda's here.
Oh, go ahead, Linda. Go ahead. Linda, did you hear my question? Go ahead.
If you could write that in and make it ironclad, I wouldn't have... Well, yes, I would. Let me back up. My point is that we, at this point in time, at this juncture, we do not need an additional income tax on the small businessman or the successful executive in one of our large corporations that's making $200,000 to $250,000 a year. This is not the time to do it. And Mr. Gates needs to get his hands out of our back pockets. As far as I'm concerned, you could put something ironclad in there, but you don't understand the power of the majority of the legislature. They changed the rules in terms of their taxing authority last time around, and they will do whatever they can. They will either pass a law that says that this is some sort of extraordinary need at the time, and they will manufacture something so they can change that law and modify it. As far as I'm concerned, then it would go through the courts, and then the courts would issue their particular ruling. But the courts consider legislature. So as far as I'm concerned, we need to nip this in the bud.
Well, have you signed this Defeat 1098 yet?
Absolutely.
Oh, you're already on board. Well, there you got one there, Scott. Hey, Greg and Kent, if 97% of the population isn't paying, finish that sentence for me, Greg and Kent.
Well, these guys are saying that only 3% of the population is going to be affected by this, as if that is a great positive
3%
for everybody else,
right?
Or 3%. But if only 3% are paying this tax, how are they possibly going to generate enough income to affect the changes that they're trying to affect?
Scott, how are they going to do that?
Well, they indicate that this tax will raise $1.7 billion in the first year. So that would be a tax of $1.7 billion on Washington small businesses. And so that's a pretty hefty tax, and one that we don't think that our economy can afford right now. We don't need to take more money out of the private economy and send it to Olympia because, like we said, they haven't made those hard choices. And back on Linda's point, it would take changing the Constitution of Washington to put in place those protections that you mentioned, John, and this initiative does not do that.
Greg, in Kent, are you considered rich?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, then why do you care?
No, I care because I'm saying is that they're going to have to expand it to everybody else. I just don't think that they're going to get enough money. They may say they're going to raise $1.7 billion, but I don't think that either A, going to be enough for them, or B, they're not going to get that much. And so they're going to have to expand it to everybody else. This is a flat-out bad idea, and anybody that supports this is nuts.
Have you signed Defeat 1098?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Scott, I think you have stacked all the calls. Somehow you have got into our phone lines. Hey, Aaron.
It's the grassroots support.
Is that what it is? Aaron in Sandpoint says, Bill Gates Sr. is not the best spokesperson. Who would be the best spokesperson, Aaron?
Hi, John. I think someone, like yourself, who's worked and has a business and has, signed contracts and hired and fired and traveled and been on airplanes and, his wife was on the Board of Regents like 4 decades ago. His father was the president of Rainier Bank. I mean, he's not someone who's made a payroll. He's not someone who's put out proposals and bids and been in competition. And, you need your neighbor down the street who's banging his head out making $40,000 a month. Granted, that's a lot of money, but he's built that for 25 years and is paying $50,000 a year for his kid to go to, Walla Walla or some private school. That's the spokesman who says, tax me more. Bill Gates Sr., what a stratified life he's lived. I just feel like, it's just like totally the wrong guy. Someone like you who really built it would be
I would not, but I wouldn't be out there saying I would like everybody to pay more, because I think it gets down to a philosophical position of, is it a spending problem or is it a revenue problem?
I think it's a spending.
It's a spending problem. We haven't made the hard choices. I'm on the Sammamish City Council. Our budget right now, we're looking at some really, really hard choices because we know we cannot generate more revenue and we do not want to tax the citizens. So that's what we're up against. I think it's an interesting choice. He's a fairly bulletproof guy, Bill Gates Sr., because we see the Gates Foundation, all the money and all the good they do in the world. Bill Gates Sr., upstanding gentleman, been in the law practice for years. Everybody knows him. And it's hard to bash him because everybody knows he's rich and they know it's going to hit him. So that's part of the problem. Thanks for the calls. Take a quick commercial break. Anything you want to add to this, Nicole Brodeur, before we go to break?
No, I just want to thank everybody for calling.
Oh,
it was really good.
Very thought of you. Very thoughtful. Very nice. This is News Talk 97.3 Cairo FM.